We really need to shift the language to identity first and say autistic person, autistic child. So he's clearly someone who is not listening to autistic voices and how this person first language is harmful to them. So I don't like that he is someone who consulted on this book. Hi, I'm Kelly Nascimento with Kelly's Reading Corner, and today I'm here to bring you what may or may not be a controversial video. I don't know, but let's just start with a disclaimer to say that I am no expert on autism. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I am not autistic or neurodivergent myself, so everything I have to say in this video is just coming from a place of wanting to learn, wanting to share, wanting to start a conversation, have a conversation. It's my perspective doing my best to be an autistic ally. So if you couldn't tell from the title and the thumbnail, I'm going to be giving my review on Leo and the Octopus. It is a newer title from Usborne Books and More. I am an Usborne Books and More consultant, so I do really support this company and the diversity that they are trying to bring to their books. They've been bringing diversity to their books, to their children's books for years. And so I really admire the company for that. And this book in particular has an autistic main character, which I haven't seen yet from them. This book, Leo and the Octopus, was published by Kane Miller, who is a partner with Usborne Publishing to make Usborne Books and More. And so when I saw that they were coming out with this book, being the mother of an autistic child, of course, I was so excited to see this representation happen in this children's book. And so I wanted to really dive in and see if I felt like it was a positive, good, helpful representation or not. Okay, let's start with a little bit of background on me so you can kind of know where my perspective is coming from. I am neurotypical myself, and my son received his autism diagnosis about 1.5 years ago. When he received his diagnosis, I knew very, very little, almost nothing about autism. I knew about puzzle pieces. I knew about Autism Speaks. I knew about Light It Up Blue, that whole thing, and that's really it. I totally supported all those things because I thought that was supporting my son. And then about 1 year after his diagnosis, I decided to do some education for autism, what I thought at the time was Autism Awareness Month, in Kelly's Reading Corner on Facebook. And as I started researching things that I could share, I really got educated real fast. And I started listening to autistic voices. I wanted to know what the autistic community was saying about how people were referring to them and talking about them and treating them. And I learned so much in such a short amount of time from really just listening to what they were saying, asking questions, reading articles, doing research. And so I'm still in that process of learning, but I'm doing my best to be an autistic ally and to advocate to make this world better for my son. All right, let's dig in. I'm gonna read the little synopsis on the back of the book to get us started. So it says, Leo struggles to make sense of the world, but then one day he meets an octopus called Maya. As Leo learns more about her, he starts to think that perhaps he isn't alone after all. A dreamy, thoughtful story about a child on the autistic spectrum and the special bond he forms with one of Earth's most astonishing creatures. And then the back cover also has a quote from Professor Tony Atwood. He says, the sensitive descriptions throughout the book of what it is like to have autism are accurate and perceptive on so many levels. Okay, so we're gonna start with one of the issues that I have with this book. One of the cons of this book is the person first language that they're using. So for all of the different topics I'm going to mention, I'm going to link a bunch of resources below. So I'll try to explain the issue with the problem with person first language, why it's harmful to autistics is because it separates the person from their autism. And that's an issue because it promotes people trying to get rid of autistic traits. It promotes the idea that we need to cure autism, that autism is bad, right? It's saying, oh, autism is bad, so we want to make sure that we recognize the person without their autism. But if you listen to the majority of the autistic community, they're saying no. Our brains function differently. We are autistic. You cannot get rid of our autism. It is who we are. It's like saying, I'm female, I'm white, I'm straight, I'm German. It's like saying those things. That's who I am. That's a fact. And that's not going to change. I don't want it to change. It doesn't have to change. And that's what autistics are saying. So we really need to shift the language to identity first and say autistic person, autistic child. And I've had to shift my phrasing as well. I've had to shift that, but it's shifted my mindset for my son. I want him to grow up and know that he's autistic, be proud of who he is, and ask for the accommodations that he needs instead of trying to mask his autism or trying to fit into neurotypical society. So that's my little explanation about how harmful person-first language can be, and I see it from Professor Tony Attwood on this book right there. So that leads me to my other issue with this book. I will get to the good stuff. I really don't have issues with this book, the story itself. But my next issue is with Professor Tony Attwood because he's not autistic himself. And he is the one that reviewed this book, and it says it uses first-person language in the back of this book in a couple places. So he's clearly someone who is not listening to autistic voices and how this person-first language is harmful to them. So I don't like that he is someone who consulted on this book. One of the big issues that autistics have with organizations that are meant to help the autistic community is that they're not consulting autistics. They don't have autistics running the organizations. They don't have autistics on the board. That's one of the big issues with Autism Speaks. And so this book I really wish had consultation from an autistic, if that makes sense. Cool. So that is one of my issues. And the author, Isabel Marinov, it sounds like she has a son who is neurodiverse, and they talk about Asperger's in this book. So the other issue that I have, this is the last issue that I'm gonna rant about, is that Asperger's is not well received in the autistic community because it's more or less a functioning label. These labels are harmful in the way that, let me put it this way. If I'm standing there with my mom and she's talking with a mom friend of hers, and she says that I am autistic, and the mom friend is like, oh, is she high functioning or low functioning? What does do you want someone to talk about you in that way? No, not at all. Do you want people to assume your capabilities and how you function as a human by saying you're low functioning or high functioning? What the autistic community, from what I've learned, what they prefer is that you say autistic and then their accommodation or something that they need. So my son, I say he's autistic and non-speaking. When he received his diagnosis, he did get a functioning label. He did get a level. I would never label him as a certain level. Here's another way to look at it. So the autism spectrum, it's not a line. It's not to say that someone is autistic and they function at this level, or they function at this level, or they're here, or whatever. And that's kind of what the Asperger's diagnosis does. It puts them on a level on the spectrum. Autism is actually a circle, meaning that any given person who's autistic, or on any given day, they can be somewhere on the spectrum that is a circle, if that makes sense. They're all different. They have different needs. Just like a neurotypical person, one day I might not be quite as functioning as another day, right? I have different needs, and they're fluid, right? An autistic person's level, their needs, the accommodations that they require to get through their day, how they're functioning, it is fluid. Okay, now let's talk about what I like about this book, okay? As I said before, I think the story is actually fantastic. I think that the character Leo is super relatable. I think he's accurately depicted. Now, you may have heard this, that if you know one autistic person, you know one autistic person, because they are all on that circle spectrum and they have different needs, and that is fluid for each person as well. So Leo is one representation of an autistic person, but I will say that from my experience with my son and listening to what autistic adults have to say about their experiences in life, I think that Leo is depicted accurately. And I like the way that he's interacting with the people in this book, and I like the way that people are interacting with him. I think it gives his character a lot of respect. I think that the story allows Leo to be himself, to be who he is. I don't think anything in this story is ableist at all. If you don't know what ableism is, definitely I'll link some info on that below. But it's just kind of explaining how Leo does feel alone. He feels like he can't understand people around him. And then he is at the aquarium and he sees this octopus. He sees Maya and he immediately relates to her. I love Edgar, the octopus keeper. He's so kind and compassionate with Leo. This book shows Leo developing a special interest in octopuses and really growing to understand Maya. Edgar asks Leo to come to the aquarium every Friday after school to hang out with Maya so he gets to know her. I kind of like this because I feel like with my son Connor, he can be difficult to understand at a glance, but the more time you spend with him, the more patient you are with him, and how you can be like Leo is with Maya and just learn to understand him over time. So he does say something about how Maya turns red. At some point in the book, it says that Leo wishes other people were as easy to understand as Maya. Like they were just white when they're happy and calm and red when they were upset. And I think Leo wishes that other people could understand him that easily, right? Like I'm always looking for clues with my son about, you know, what might like put him over the edge, or, you know, oh, is he regulated right now? Is he feeling unregulated? What does he need? You know, does he need more sensory input? Does he need to jump on his trampoline some more? Does he need a squeeze or a hug? Things like that. So you kind of learn signs over time like that. But I like that in the book, they're referencing a lot of simple accommodations that autistics might need, like sunglasses or headphones, or, you know, to be alone, right? Like maybe not at the aquarium with all the crowds of kids, but he gets to go every Friday by himself when it's quiet. And then at the end, he makes a connection with another little boy, and the little boy listens to him sharing all the facts that he knows about octopuses, and I just love that. Well, I've been trying to have some play dates with Connor and some of my friends and their kids lately, and it's been interesting to see how different kids immediately relate to Connor. Some kids are pretty unsure of him. Sometimes when he's doing his vocal stims, they're like, oh, what? I'm not sure about this kid. And then other kids just like, it's just like nothing. You know, it seems like whatever. They're just hanging out with Connor, and the vocal stims, you know, they don't even notice them or anything. So that's been interesting to see, and it's cool to see in this book this little relationship that Leo develops with this kid at the aquarium, and to watch his relationship with Maya the octopus throughout the book, and also to see, as I mentioned before, to see Edgar the octopus keeper kind of accommodating Leo, recognizing his special interest in Maya and encouraging that. I like to see that too. So I really love so much about the story here. I love the representation that Leo is giving autistic kids in this book. I think it's a book that people should have in their homes, but I wanted to make this video to point out maybe some of the problems with this book, and like I said, learn together, have conversation about it. Definitely check out those links in the description below if you want to learn more about some of the points that I've brought up today. Feel free to leave me comments asking questions or starting conversations. Being neurotypical myself, I'm really trying to understand the autistic experience through, like I said, listening to autistic adults and asking them questions. It's been so helpful. It's been a journey. It will continue to be. So I'm really excited to see what you thought of the points that I brought up about this book. If you have this book, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, how it has been enjoyed in your family. And with that, if you liked this video, please give it a like before you click off. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. Then you won't miss any of my daily uploads on this channel. And that is it. I will see you next time.